Alright everyone, welcome back to the devlog series for the game about a photographer joining an expedition to the end of the world. I have a special treat for all you freaks back home. In this video, we have feet. Let me show you how we got here. If you've been following along, you'll know that the true first-person setup didn't really work out, so here's a traditional first-person setup, and as you can see, we have an extra set of arms. But that's not really it. Actually, our character is here 4 different times. Let's count them off. First, we have the first-person arms, which are parented to the camera, which is our point of view, and this is most of what we see on the screen, just floating arms. And if we look at the arms themselves, we can see that they're marked as only owner see. That means that nothing else in the world sees these arms. In order for us to not just be floating arms, we also have a body mesh, which is also marked as only owner see. And in here in the editor, it looks like this, but in reality, it's sliced off more or less in its midriff. So when the game is running, and I'll show this to you in a second, it's just a pair of disembodied legs, just like we have disembodied arms. This creates a problem that having just a set of legs and a set of arms makes for a very weird shadow. So we have a third mesh, which is just the shadow and looks like this. And we have a fourth and last one that is just the entire body. Those of you who have been paying closer attention might have noticed that the shadow, body, and arms are all marked as only owner see, which means that only we see them. But the full body mesh is marked as owner no see, which means that we don't see it, but everything else in the world does. So cinematics, cutscenes, reflections should all see just the full body mesh and not the weird grafted amalgamation of limbs. Let's put everything back where it was and show you how this looks in game. To do that, let's take the full body mesh and set it to hidden in game so I can show you what I mean. If I now hit play and eject ourselves and take a look, here are the disembodied floating arms and legs. Other than the disembodied situation, you can also see that the shoulders are much more forward than the pelvis is. And that's to make it so that when we look down, we don't see that we don't really have a body. If, when looking down, I eject and see what we look like, it looks even weirder. That's because the camera's looking down and the arms are parented to the camera. However, when it's our own point of view, it looks okay, right? We're moving around, it's fine. And even when we jump, we get a bit of our left hand in our view, and it looks pretty good with the shadow. And honestly, if I were making a normal first-person game, like a shooter or something, then this might have been enough. But since we'll be focused on photography, then reflections will be important. And in that case, this Full Metal Alchemist situation just isn't going to cut it. So let's unhide the body, and let's put another copy of us in the world so we can see what we look like. So right now it has the editor views that we can see everything, but if I hit play, there's I don't see the extra set of arms, I just see the body. So what we see when looking down and we have our body is not the same as what other elements see when they look at us. I based this off a tutorial by Ryan Laley. I'll have it linked down below. He's really great and the tutorial was great. The other thing I have for you today, if I surreptitiously reconnect this node, compile, and run, is we're holding a camera with some janky animations. And not just that, we can also aim. This was actually kind of tricky to get because of a very specific problem I faced. Let me show you. This is our character's animation blueprint. An animation blueprint is a blueprint that drives logic for animations. And all of these nodes here are the flow of logic that animates our character specifically. There's quite a bit going on, but I want us to focus on this section right here. You can see our main state's state machine, which decides whether we're idle or running or jumping, etc., which is not good enough. I want us to also hold a camera. To do that, I used Unreal Engine's sequencer tool to create a one-frame animation of us holding a camera. Basically, it's just a pose. I left the entire body the way that it is and only changed the hands and fingers. And I wanted to use that with a layered blend per bone node, which does exactly what it sounds like it does. It blends two or more animations together based on their bones. And the bones I wanted to blend together from our pose animation are mainly the clavicles. If I hook this up and compile, you'll see that it looks pretty good. We have the slight swaying from the idle animation. We have the position of the arms. And I would call that a win.
Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
For that, let's take a look at these markings we have next to the mannequin's hands. The three spheres we see here are references used by the aiming system. How it works is we keep a reference for each hand's relative position to each other and relative to the point we want to aim down. So the point that needs to be stuck to our face. What that means is that this green dot right here, this green sphere, needs to be aligned with the camera's viewfinder. Immediately, we see two things that are very wrong with this. First, this isn't where the viewfinder is relative to the hand. It should be here. Second, even much more disturbing, is that the camera isn't moving relative to the hand. They're stuck together. However, the reference points are changing their relative direction. So this is wrong on many levels. What this means is when I tell it to keep the reference or to move the reference to where it's supposed to be aiming, we can see that it's all wrong. When we would try to aim using this system right now, the viewfinder would be here, and the hands would be here, which is not what we want. And that is because something is wrong with the way we calculate the viewfinder's position relative to the hand. And this took quite a while to figure out, and I couldn't have done it without the help of the Unreal Source Discord, some really great and talented guys over there. The problem was this. As you can see, I'm calculating the viewfinder's position relative to the hand in what's called bone space. That means the positioning of two bones relative to each other. Apparently, the way bone space is calculated is from the bone recursively through all of its parents all the way back to the root bone. However, in our animation, we're blending out the root bone, right? We're cutting it off at the clavicle, so I cannot make the calculation from the hand all the way back down to the root because I'm being cut off at the clavicle. And that's what messed up the calculation. Well, that sucks, you might think to yourself, so what's the alternative? And the alternative is that I, as an engineer, had to do some animations, and it went better than you could expect it to go. Back in Unreal's sequencer tool, instead of creating just a one-frame animation with the positioning of the hands, the way that you would hold a camera, I actually combined both of these animations in the animation editor and created an entire animation of the character holding the camera. And while it's true that if I had this as a real animation portfolio, I probably would have been thrown out, I don't think this is the worst that's ever been. I think you could find worse animations than this. And while they're far from perfect, I am very proud of them. And that way, since I had already baked the animation, I didn't need to layer it anymore. Let me get this back to the way that it was, and you'll see the difference. And this is the way that it is right now, with our full body pre-blended animation. And you can see that the two problems we had with our reference points are now fixed. First of all, the reference point for the viewfinder is in the position of the viewfinder. And it does not move relative to the hand bone, which is just what we want. And that way, when we aim in game, then the camera snaps to the right spot and the hands stay where they should be. And that should be it for today. Don't forget, Pre-Alpha 002 is still live on itch as of recording this video. It has at least 2 whole minutes of gameplay, so be sure to give it a go. If you play it, I would love to get feedback from you, so reach out to me here in the comments or in Discord. Link in the description. If you enjoy what I do, then be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, and do all the good YouTube stuff. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Expect more good things, and I'll see you next time.